guys! So I recently got a suggestion from a subscriber to do a review of the Moleskine monthly planner and also to do a comparison between that and the Leuchtturm monthly planner, which I thought was a great idea. So I'd just like to walk through both of these planners and compare and contrast them and discuss my feelings on the pros and cons of both of them, because I think they're both great planners, but there are quite a few differences between them. So first of all, the Moleskine comes in 3 different sizes: the pocket size, the large, which is an A5 slim, and the extra large, which is similar to a B5. Whereas, as far as I know, unless it's changed for 2018, the Leuchtturm only comes in a B5, so the biggest size of the Moleskine range. Another difference is that the Moleskine only comes in black, whereas the Leuchtturm comes in different colors. So you get more of a choice in terms of color, but less of a choice in terms of size. They both only come in softback, as far as I can tell. They don't come in hardback. So if we keep that in mind, I've got the large Moleskine, and obviously this is the B5 Leuchtturm. That's going to be the biggest difference in terms of size, so we'll try to look at both of them at the same time. The other difference is that this is 2018, whereas this is 2017. Okay, so when you open it up, they both have a similar design and construction overall. Obviously, the Moleskine paper is a little bit more yellowy than the Leuchtturm one. I think you can see that on the camera, and I'll show you in a minute. The Leuchtturm holds up to fountain pens a bit better. So they both have this front page, and then they go into the yearly calendars. The Moleskine one also has this page that says Moleskine Monthly Notebook, which I think is quite a nice touch, and it has personal data, which the Leuchtturm doesn't have. I actually would rather not have that because I never fill this in, and I think most planner people don't, so to me this is just a wasted page, but then some people, I guess, do fill it in, so if you do, then that might be useful. Then we have this yearly overview. So in the Moleskine, it's over 2 pages, so you've got the current year, 2018, and then the next year, 2019, whereas in the Leuchtturm it's over 3 pages, so you get the previous year, which in this case was 2016, the current year, 2017, and the upcoming year, 2018. I'm sorry, it's confusing because this one is 2017 and this one is 2018. As far as I know, the Leuchtturm 2018 monthly planners aren't out yet, or at least they're not on Amazon yet, which is where I get most of my planner supplies. In terms of the actual calendars, they are pretty similar. Another difference you can see is that for the Leuchtturm I have the German language version, whereas the Moleskine is in English, but they have a different design as well. So the Leuchtturm has 3 months in a column with 4 columns, whereas this one has 2 months in a column, and it's divided in half with a line, but it's a pretty minimal difference. They're both a Monday start, which is important. Then they both have an identical vertical monthly layout, well, more or less identical, where you get a running column with one month per column divided into weeks. So in the Moleskine they give you, in the Leuchtturm they give you 3 months, whereas in this one they give you 2 months. I'm not sure if that would be different if I had the extra large Moleskine, so I'm not really comparing like for like because there's a size difference. But at least in this one it gives you 2 columns per page, whereas this one gives you 3 columns per page. So you've got that for the whole of the current year. And then they both have international holidays, so it's a very similar layout there. And then this is where they start to get a little bit more different. The Leuchtturm goes into this project plan, which I'll go over in a minute, whereas the Moleskine gives you another vertical layout for the following year, which I really like, as I mentioned in the video reviewing this planner, which I'll link down below. I like the fact that they do this because it's great for forward planning. Whereas this one has this project plan for the current year. So in this case, 2017. This is a whole spread that is unique to Leuchtturm, or Moleskine certainly doesn't have it. So it gives you 5 rows per month, which to me, this is perfectly suited for habit tracking. So, and then it gives you, it lays out the year, and it gives you like one little box per day. So say this is vitamins you can take, or, you know, running, going to sleep early, whatever, like that. It seems to me ideally suited for that. I can't think of another use that it would be really perfect for, because there's not a lot of space to write in here. So when they say project plan, I have in mind something work related, like where you are charting the, you know, development of something that you're working on. But I think that that would only work if you wanted to like make sure that you'd done it every day and that you know, checked off your progress. Anyway, that's something that the Moleskine doesn't have at all. And that goes on for 3 pages here. And it also labels the weeks. So in gray it says, see, this is week 38, week 39. So that's a big difference between them. I think they're both useful in their own ways. Probably, depending on what you're going to use it for, it might be more useful to have a habit tracker than to have the whole year spread of the following year. But I personally used to use this when I was using a Moleskine, so I liked it, having it there. Then the differences continue, because the Leuchtturm goes straight into the monthly calendars, which we'll get to in a minute, whereas the Moleskine has a whole bunch of other typical Moleskine pages that you always get at the beginning of Moleskine planners. Time zones with a world map, measures and conversions, international sizes, dialing codes, and a blank spread here with lines that is supposed to be used for travel planning, but obviously you could use for something else. Then a dot grid page and a blank space, which has a very faint design of parts of the map of the world, and then a whole map of the world, also in dot grid, and then a blank page with a ruler, and then an intro page before the monthly spread starts. So I have been on record saying many times that I feel like all of these pages are not hugely useful, and I would rather that they just put in more note paper. And I still do feel like that, because I think, for example, this project plan or habit tracker to me is much more useful to more people than measures and conversions and international sizes. So I would rather have that in here as well. I think that would make it a lot more functional than what they do have. But I know that there are people out there who use all of these spreads, so there you are. But I feel like the Leuchtturm is more streamlined, and it just gives you the information that you're really going to need, and it doesn't give you any other information, whereas this gives you a lot of information that somebody might need, but I feel like most people don't really need to have in their planner. But that's just my opinion, and it's only a few pages. So I do really like this map, because I think that there are a lot of fun things that could be done with that, the map of the world. Okay, so then they meet up again. Obviously, the Moleskine has this kind of dashboard before you actually go into the monthly spreads, which I think is kind of nice. And the Leuchtturm just goes straight into it without any preamble. So the monthly spreads are quite different as well. First of all, the Leuchtturm gives you 2 extra months before the start of the year. So this is a 2017 monthly planner, but it gives you November and December 2016, which I think is great. It's fantastic for planner addicts, because we always get our planners early and are really keen to start them. The Moleskine doesn't do that. It just starts in the January of the year that the planner is for, which I suppose is fair enough, but I've kind of grown to expect planners to start early, so I was a bit disappointed, because I would like to start using this straight away and I have to wait 2.5 months. So another big difference is in the design. As you can see here, let me just go to January, but well, actually it's not the same year, so it doesn't really matter. The Leuchtturm has lines, whereas the Moleskine doesn't have lines, and I prefer the unlined version. So I like the Moleskine better, just because I think it looks really crisp and clear. The thing about this is that, as you can probably see here, the following page has got lines, and so you can actually see through it and you can use it to guide your writing. So in effect, it is almost as if it's lined, but it keeps the page looking very clean and minimalist, which I really like. I feel like with the lines, it looks a little bit busier, but obviously the lines can be useful, so it's not like I dislike it. I just really like this layout. Otherwise, they both start on a Monday, so Monday to Sunday, which is great. And the other difference is, let me see if I can find an example. Okay, this is a big difference. The Moleskine has 6 rows, which means that you never get a situation where you have a month that has to share a day with another day. So, for example, if you have a month that has 31 days, or even 30 days in this case, and starts on a Sunday, so you've got all 6 boxes are in use. So the 1 is up here at the top and the 30 down here at the bottom. Whereas sorry, I keep mixing up the names. The Leuchtturm has 5 boxes. So you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has 5 rows. So if you have a situation like this, you'll end up with a box that has to be split in half. So to me that is a huge thing, because I would much rather have it like this, where you've got 6 rows and you never have that happen. Each day gets its own box. I think that's really important overall in planners for a monthly spread, but particularly for a monthly planner, because if this is a monthly planner, the month is the focal point, it's the center part of the planner, it's the most important bit, so you're really going to want to have all of the space that you need for every day. So I find this kind of annoying. I don't know if this has been changed for 2018, but if not, then keep in mind that this is a difference. So I think that is a big thing. Other than that, obviously these are different sizes, so it's not going to be exactly comparable, but I think in terms of size of the boxes, it's pretty similar for the layout. So if you imagine this in B5 size, you would get about the same amount of space per box as you do in this. The other difference is that the Moleskine puts the date in the bottom middle of each box, whereas the Leuchtturm puts it at the top left. And I think because this is lined throughout, I find it a little bit harder to see in the Leuchtturm where each box starts and finishes, because you've got lines everywhere. So it's kind of like you just have a whole bunch of lines, and you can see the number here, but it's like, is that the top of the box or is that the top of the box, if you see what I mean? It's not a terrible problem, but for me, when I was using this, I found that a little bit disorienting, whereas in this, because it's such a clean, empty layout and you just have the line separating the boxes, it's very easy to see where one box stops and the next one finishes. And I like the aesthetics of having the date in the bottom middle of the box. And it also gives you moon phases, which is a nice touch that's not really, I guess, that important, but it kind of, I like the way it looks, whereas this doesn't give you moon phases. They both have a column on the right hand side that tells you the week number and just has a blank box for notes. This one actually says notes, whereas this one doesn't. It gives you the week number, and then obviously you can use it for notes. The other difference is that the Leuchtturm gives you the previous month and the following month at the top right, whereas the Moleskine doesn't. I actually prefer it like this because I think this makes the layout cleaner, and I never use these. If I needed to check the previous month or the following month, I would just flip ahead. But it's a small thing. It's not like I mind having that there. It's a small difference. The other thing in the Leuchtturm is that it gives you this little sectioned off box at the bottom right of every daily box, if that makes sense. There's this little sectioned off square that's kind of like divided with a line where you can record something. Like somebody suggested, because when I did the review of this, I wasn't sure what this was for. Someone suggested This might be a place where you can note down where in the page in the planner where that relates to this day. So it could be like kind of an indexing tool, and I'm not sure what else you could use that for or why it's there. Otherwise, this doesn't have anything like that. So overall, this layout is generally more minimalist, more empty. I guess you could say maybe it's not as functional because the lines and this box could be used for something, but personally I like this one better in terms of how it looks, and I think that it's also quite functional, but they're both very nice. Now, another big difference comes up immediately after the monthly page. So in the Moleskine, you get a 2-page spread of lined paper that you can use for notes relating to the month. So in the video reviewing this, I was saying I'm going to use this as a social media planner / planner for everything planner related. So I would use this for videos that I want to make during the month, planner wish list for the month, my current setups, that kind of thing. Or, you could use it for anything really that relating to the month, like shopping list if you're using this as a meal planner. I find it hard to imagine using this as my only planner or my main planner just because it doesn't have enough space. So for me, this works better as a single issue planner, a planner that's just devoted to one thing. But if you were just using this for appointments and to-dos, I think you could totally put your appointments in here and then divide this into 4 columns, and then you could have this as a weekly running to-do list. So you have like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you can quite easily do it because you can see through from the monthly spread on the previous page, so that you could like kind of divide this. You wouldn't even have to draw in a line. You could just, kind of eyeball it. So I think it would definitely work like that if you wanted to use this as, like, say you're on-the-go planner, like, the planner that you take out with you and it just has your appointments and your to-dos while you're out. It would totally work as that, and it's very, slim and compact, and so you could easily use it like that, and I think it would be quite nice. This one doesn't have that. It just has the months back to back, so that's very different. So for this, you get all of the months up front, and then you get a whole bunch of note paper. Whereas this, it alternates. So you get the monthly spread, and then you get this line spread, and then you get another monthly spread, and then you get the line spread. So depending on what you want to use it for, I think that there are pros and cons to each of these. For me, I like this better because I like the idea of having the monthly spread and then having some notes pages that are directly next to it. So I don't have to flip back and forth if I want to get to my note paper. I can just say, okay, like say these are my appointments or my schedule, and then this is what I want to do in that month, broken down in more detail. So I really like that because it keeps them right next to each other. I think that's quite a nice design. Whereas for this one, it's more like you have your months, this is, your monthly plan, your schedule, whatever, and then the notes are completely separate. So when we get to the end of the monthly spread in here, and it goes until February 2018, so it gives you an extra 2 months beyond the end of the year. This one goes until December 2018. So in equivalent year, basically this, it's confusing because of the 2018, but basically this gives you an extra 2 months at the end for forward planning, whereas this doesn't give you any extra months. Now, I think that's okay because at the beginning, as I mentioned, you get this whole entire extra year here in vertical format where you can still write things in. And you will probably have bought your 2019 planner already well in advance and be keen to start using it. So I think that that's okay. Because if you are, say you're using this as your on-the-go planner and it's like, November or December and you need to make an appointment for the following March, you've got this space to write it in. So I think that's fine. But this does give you the extra 2 months in the same format if that appeals to you. So when you get to the end of the planner, this one has the traditional Leuchtturm contents page. So you get 2 pages of contents, and then you get a blank page where it says Leuchtturm 1917, and then it gives you numbered pages for notes. So you get 75 pages, of lined, numbered notes paper, whereas this one, so it gives you your typical 2-page note spread following December, and then it goes straight into more lined notes paper. So it doesn't do anything to divide the two sections from each other. Now, I like the fact that this has a very clear division. First of all, it gives you the contents. So if you're using it as a bullet journal for collections, then you can easily record where things are. And then secondly, it has this nice blank page, which you could also use for something else, or just leave blank before it goes into the notes pages. So there's a very clear division between the two parts of the planner. But this one just goes on to the notes pages, and they're not numbered. So that is the biggest difference between the Moleskine and the Leuchtturm, which fits in with the general difference between them in terms of their notebooks as well, is that in the notebooks the Moleskines are not numbered and the Leuchtturms are, so it's not really a surprise. I really like the numbering, and I think most people do, because it's great if you want to use these for notes to be able to have them ready numbered so you can put them in the index. The other difference is that the Leuchtturm has a space for the date at the top, whereas the Moleskine doesn't, although obviously it's not hard to write it in, but this is already given for you. And it also has a bigger margin at the top, so you've got all of that blank space for headings, whereas this doesn't have anywhere that's specifically designed for headings. So I think that in terms of page layout, the Leuchtturm is nicer because it's more intentionally designed for you to make lists that have headings. It also gives you more pages, so this gives you 75 pages, whereas this, to my count, this gives you about 50. So this is like, I guess, about a page a week, say, if you were rationing these, whereas this gives you, it's a page a week plus like an extra 20-something pages. And then it also gives you some blank pages at the end. So I'd say about 10 sides, like 10 blank pages, whereas this just gets to the end and that's it. So the Leuchtturm is definitely a bit thicker. Obviously this is B5, but it still should be a similar size because if it matches up the contents. So if the extra large version of the Moleskine is the same as this, it will still be quite a bit thinner, which I think again can be good or bad depending on what you want it for. If this is your on-the-go planner, then it's much nicer to have a slimmer planner. But if you are using this for something where you want to be able to take a lot of notes pages, then this one is definitely the one to go for. Obviously this one is also bigger as well, so it's not as portable, because with this one you've got the choice of which size you want. In terms of paper, they feel similar to me in quality. The Moleskine is definitely thinner, but in terms of just how they feel, just the actual, the touch of the paper, I like both of them. The Moleskine is infamously fountain pen unfriendly, so this is the pen test that I did, and everything bled through. There's a lot of ghosting. So the Leuchtturm is not much better. This was a test I did with a medium, I believe, and that's what happened. So there was quite a lot of ghosting and like a little bit of bleed through. So it's actually not totally incomparable. I'd say this is a little bit better because from Leuchtturms that I've used with other fountain pens, you can get away a little bit more with like slightly less bleed through, but I would say they're pretty similar. So if you really like using fountain pens, then these might, neither of them is ideal, but the Leuchtturm is a bit better. Other than that, in the back, they both have a pocket. The Moleskine comes with 3 sheets of stickers, alphabet stickers, and then 2 sheets of icons. The Leuchtturm doesn't have that kind of sticker, but it has labels, and these can be quite useful. So it has these 3 like book plate labels that you could use to put on the front, and then it also has labels for the spine, which is kind of cool. So the back is obviously pretty similar in both of them. They both have the logo embossed on the back and the elastic. And that's it. The other difference is that the Moleskine has one bookmark, whereas the Moleskine Leuchtturm has two. So this can be really useful, I think, having two bookmarks. Planner addicts obviously generally are very much in favor of lots of bookmarks. So, you know, for this you can have one in the monthly pages and then one in the notes pages, whereas in this one you only get the one bookmark. I feel like in this planner it's not such an issue because you're probably most likely to be working in this area most of the time, where your monthly spread is and then where the monthly notes are. And so if you've got the one bookmark here, you can just easily flip to the next page. But if you know, if you've got notes in this as well, I feel like they're more likely to be long-term things, or, you know, collections, lists, that kind of thing, where you don't need to be flipping to them all the time. Whereas in this one, because it doesn't have the notes pages immediately connected to the monthly spreads, it's going to be much more essential to be able to flip to the notes pages whenever you want to. Although, having said that, who am I kidding? We all love to have multiple bookmarks, so obviously I wouldn't complain if this had an extra bookmark in it. So that's basically it. Those are the similarities and differences between these two monthly planners. I think that they're both a really good option depending on what you want them for. If you want something more portable, then you have to go with this one because this only comes in B5 as it stands. But if you like the B5 size, then it's basically the question of whether or not you want to have the notes pages immediately, you know, kind of spliced in with the monthly pages or not. I think that's the biggest consideration. The other differences are some of them might make a difference, like the project plan in this, which you can use for habit tracking. So if you do habit tracking and you want to use it as a kind of bullet journal setup where you don't have to make the monthly spreads yourself, but you've still got a lot of notes pages, then this is probably better because you've got built-in habit tracking as well. And otherwise, I think it just depends on where you'd rather have the notes pages. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Bye!